In fact, one gentleman has woken up very early to speak to us this morning about the viability of the real estate sector. I'm joined by the president of the Association of Real Estate Agents, Mr. Mark Edghill. He's with us via Zoom this morning. Hello, Mr. Edghill. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Good morning. Yes, I haven't been experiencing the rainy issues you all have been having this morning, so not yet.
It's coming our way soon. But, Mr. Edghill, let me start the question. Simply, what is the essential purpose of real estate agents?
So the essential purpose of a real estate agent is to bring a buyer and a seller or a tenant and a landlord together to transact the transfer of real estate or the occupancy of real estate, and to facilitate the public's need for housing and business needs for accommodations for their business or their retail. So a real estate agent basically is the individual that will handle all of the processes involved in locating properties, listing properties, matching what the buyer or tenant is looking for with respect to their needs, and bringing the best options forward for consideration, and then having the client make the decision on what they're looking for and what they want, what they choose to move forward on.
So there is a basic understanding. Is there a legislative framework that is in place that governs or perhaps guides real estate agents here in Trinidad and Tobago?
So we have not had anything implemented to date, but we have had legislation passed in June of 2020, which is to manage those who can practice real estate. So there will be licensing and registration of real estate agents. We are still waiting on the operationalization of that coming out of the Registrar General's office, who we are told their staff are working assiduously to get that completed, but there have been quite a number of changes to legislation made that they're all trying to catch up with and keep a pace with. With respect to the legislation itself, the Real Estate Association has actually found several issues, both operationally and in comparison to markets, the licensing, registration process, and so on. You know, we have made several recommendations with respect to that, so we're hoping that those will be taken forward in the best interest of operating realtors and agents in the market.
Any idea what's caused this delay in the declaration, the proclamation of this particular bill?
Can you repeat that?
Any idea as to what's caused the delay of the proclamation of this particular bill?
Okay, that's a question for Parliament or for the president, the past president, because I know that the current president, we have been told, is interested in getting a lot of the bills that have been passed proclaimed. So we are expecting that to be done in the very near future. The only issue is that we're hoping that amendments are made to the bill that we have been presented with prior to proclamation. If not, we'll have to deal with it after the fact.
So your organization is self-regulating and essentially it moves or makes decisions based off of the circumstances, whether it be the markets or the economy. Is that the case?
The association has a structure that is consistent with international best practices, covering ethics and basically all aspects of real estate compared to other markets around the world. Basically, we don't really operate in terms of changing the rules based on the market or the economy, right? But we do assist our members in facilitating them in getting through the difficult times when they are, like they have been for the last 2 to 3 years. But we do maintain our standards of practice. We do enforce our code of ethics, for example, how real estate agents operate with each other and with the public. So it's not a matter of what happens in the economy. It's a matter of what's the best practice of real estate that we enforce and promote.
Now, let's, you said in the toughest of times, I think one of the most difficult times that we've all faced is COVID-19 restrictions. It really impacted upon everyone, and real estate agents were no different from what I understand. Would you suggest that real estate agents and agencies are essential services, and not having that classification during the harshest of restrictions would have actually obviously affected the market to the extent that real estate agents were not able to ply their trade and the industry came to a halt?
So you're 100% correct. I mean, it has been through the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns and so on. Real estate was one of the sectors that were closed for business in both instances. Real estate, as you mentioned about being classified as an essential service, that is one of the things that our association is working on. Because since the pandemic, we have realized, I mean, we knew it before, but the impacts were more evident through the lockdown periods, where if we are prevented from operating our trade, it means that the access to shelter, which is a basic human right, is interfered with and hindered, because we saw many people who were in domestic situations. They became violent situations. People needed to be relocated. They needed to either increase the size of the property they were occupying for spatial requirements. They either needed to downsize because they were separating or parting ways and needed to have independent accommodation. And also businesses that found themselves closed and not able to cover rent if they were not given any lenience by their landlord. Basically, they were in a position as well where they needed to terminate leases or downsize their businesses, and there was no real estate agent allowed or permitted at that time to facilitate what they needed. So it is a situation where, a basic human right and business requirements for maintaining people's livelihoods are dependent on accommodation. And, we believe that real estate should be classified as an essential service so that we don't have the issue where, people are breaking the law, for example, just to try and help someone who is in a difficult situation with their accommodations.
You just mentioned people are breaking the law. Could you give an example, not specific, but generally, what you mean by people breaking the law, just to help somebody out?
What I mean by breaking the law, I mean that during the lockdown period, there were agents that basically, with people begging for assistance, begging for help, even though we could not operate, in other words, go out and do the work that we are supposed to do for the public, we were prevented from doing that. So what happened is there were some agents who felt that because of the circumstances, like I said, in terms of domestic violence and different things like that, or financial instability, people needed the assistance to get, somewhere else to live or somewhere else for their business. And although we were barred from working, they were still going ahead and doing the work. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by breaking the law, because we were prohibited from doing those things. What did happen is we found people shifted a lot of what they were doing to online, so that they were not out doing business. So online was the only opportunity or option that we had to facilitate that type of activity. But what we could not do is actually do the introductions or the assessments of properties physically, because technically that was out of the question at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now that we've come out of the harshest of restrictions, in fact all restrictions have more or less been lifted, what's the status of the industry, of the sector? Is it that you're seeing greater confidence in terms of investment, whether it be through the purchasing of commercial or private property or residential, or is it moving at a snail's pace?
So we have seen an increase in activity in the market over the last 6 to 8 months, coming out of all the major lockdowns and the COVID restrictions and so on, travel restrictions, etc. We are seeing most activity below 3 million, more under the 2.5 million range, which obviously first-time home owners will be benefiting from tax relief. and also the current mortgage rates. And also when you see, for example, some of the banks are offering 100% financing, which normally would be 10% deposit with 90% financing. So all these things are things that will stimulate the activity in the market. With respect to the commercial sector, we still have a slow recovery there with respect to businesses that are still adjusting to changes in how they operate, because there are a lot of businesses. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many, but many of the larger organizations have options to work from home. All right, so the virtual workspace is increasing. They are figuring out exactly how much space they actually need to operate their businesses. So we have a lot of inventory still in terms of offices, but we are seeing, an interest in new businesses, looking for space as well. So it is encouraging that we have interest in the commercial area. Again, unfortunately, we have seen a significant number of retail businesses close during the COVID period. We have not seen a substantial resurgence of the retail rental sector. Reason being, I think a lot of people who have shifted to online shopping and online business, are seeing viability there, which, you can't take away the experience of shopping and going out and touching and feeling the product that you want to buy. But the convenience of online shopping is where most or biggest challenge is with respect to, brick and mortar businesses now.
So clearly a digital work environment has its impacts obviously on real estate as well, with the virtual workplace also something that is being explored as a permanent option. But what you're suggesting, is it that you're going to see positive growth in this sector in terms of economics, even with perhaps greater foreign direct investments as well?
It's a very uncertain area. Obviously, our clientele for real estate and in terms of business and retail is being impacted, and obviously technology is playing a bigger and bigger part in business, as you mentioned, and in terms of any other type of business in terms of retail or even services, medical or otherwise. We basically, we have those transitions taking place that we're still, I would say, we're still getting a feel for, because people that are shifting to online still are uncertain whether the online is a better option for the type of service that they have versus in-person service. We also have the issue where people have gotten a little tired of the online scenario. So they want to go back to in-person activities. They want to get up. They don't want to be sitting on computer doing everything they have to do. The convenience is one thing, but social behavior and social access and being out and living your life is also, is also a consideration. In terms of foreign direct investment, we are hoping that we can stimulate our sector by bringing in new concepts, new developments, that will spur additional activity and interest in Trinidad and Tobago as a option for real estate investment, in the future, hopefully not far off.
Let me ask you now, another issue is commissions and basically how real estate agents make a large sum of their income. Is there any hints of having to increase the percentage of commission that real estate agents would receive following a transaction?
So what is happening right now, I actually did make statements recently to the effect that we need to revise the real estate commissions. The reason being our agents in Trinidad and Tobago are working at actually 50% or less of what international markets and our comparable markets are working for. So it's not a matter of increasing, but it's a matter of reinstating what was the initial commissions that were paid in Trinidad and Tobago. And because of the economic situation in the 1980s, and potential foreclosures of properties and people wanting to move properties because of their financial constraints, there was a reduction of the commission to 3%. That was down from a 5% benchmark, which was standard across the industry. And because of that, unfortunately, the 3% stuck and it became a norm. So coming forward now, where, cost of living is a huge issue. And in terms of operating a real estate business operates basically in good faith. That effort, all the money spent in marketing, advertising, promotions, online, viewing properties and driving all over the country, and, maintaining your office, your admin staff, all the different aspects of the real estate business. All of those expenses are, in other words, they continue regardless of what the performance of the agency is. And what happens is you can work on a property for 4 months, 6 months, 10 months, 18 months before anything happens with that specific property, whether it's a rental or a sale. And technically what happens is when the commissions come in, the commissions are actually offsetting expenses that were already paid in the past year sometimes, or in the past several months. So in assessing exactly how we do our real estate business here, the cost of doing business here, and the fact that we are working at less than half of what is done internationally and regionally, it's only fair that we, approach the public again, I would say, in terms of being fair to our trade. We are providing a service. We are providing a service free of charge, and we only get paid when we are successful in delivering on that service that we are. So, I ask people, are you willing to take half of the salary that you're getting now, right? And I'm sure you won't. So would you say that it's fair that a real estate agent will also be paid the commission that is paid internationally and what is on the market standard? So it's not a matter of for example, our recent annual seminar, which was, tagged as to a brighter future. It's not a matter of we want higher commissions so that we can make more money. It's a matter of reinstating the commissions that we should have been charging all along in order to make our businesses profitable. Because remember, there are people look at real estate agents and they do nothing and make all this money. There are some very successful agents. There are some agents who are struggling, and not every agent is going to make a $30 million sale. Right? Not every agent is going to be dependent on a $2,000 rental. But the issue you have is across the board, the income being generated by real estate agents and the difficulty in terms of maintaining their operations is what we need to look at. And at the end of the day, we just want to be fair, right? It's to me, it's unconscionable that for the last 20 years or more, we have been, or 30 years, we have been literally, working for 50% of what we should have been working for, right? Yes, real estate business is lucrative if you can build your business and offer a service that will develop your clientele.
Can I just ask you, Mr. Edghill? I'm so sorry, but is you said the real estate business can be lucrative. Is Trinidad and Tobago's real estate sector lucrative, or could it be lucrative?
So as a real estate agent, obviously, if you build your clientele and you have, sales in the realm of the 30 million or the 100 million, or you have a turnover of, many properties and sales and rentals, on a monthly, annual basis, you can make, right, based on your volumes, you can do very well in terms of real estate. You can look at some of the programs that they have on television now with respect to whether it's selling LA or selling New York or celebrity properties or whatever the case may be. The kind of numbers that they talk and the kind of commissions that they make, all right? Nobody's telling them, oh, you're making too much money, so I'm not paying you your commission. It's a standard practice. It's a cost of doing business. So yes, real estate can be lucrative, but it's definitely not a walk in the park. All right. It's a very, very difficult business. It's rewarding at times, but it's very disheartening most of the time, because you will show a property potentially between 30, 60 times and have no result. And someone may step in with someone who's interested to buy and take that property from under you and sell it and make the money on it after working for a couple of days or a couple of weeks.
So then, Mr. Edghill, is there possibly also the overvaluation of property? Is property insurance maybe overpriced?
So the issue we have here, people may say the properties are overpriced when you look at what the rental income that the properties can generate. Okay? But what we have to look at is what is the replacement cost of those properties. Right? You can't have someone with a significant construction cost, say they built a house, for example, for $4 million because of the cost of the materials to build that property and the cost of the labor to build that property. You can't then say that the $4 million price on that property is too high, because that's the actual value of the property, right? If it is that the property cannot generate sufficient revenue to cover, for example, a mortgage, that is more in line with what the market can bear, and that is more in line with our labor rates, our cost of our wages, basically, and whether we are keeping a pace with inflation, for example, with our income, right? And that's where a lot of the disparity lies. So if the population can't afford, to pay a particular rental that will support or make a real estate investment viable, what you're looking at is having to drop the price to make the rental more affordable, to have income coming in on that property.
What about
where that becomes an issue is you actually have to have much larger deposits. If you want to cover a mortgage, you'll have to have a much larger deposit, so you have a smaller monthly expenditure for a mortgage, where rental income can potentially cover that if that's your goal.
Now, I know you answered earlier with respect to the commercial sector, but middle income housing here in TNT, is there also a greater investment taking place following restrictions, or has that been limited? Middle income, to be specific.
Okay, I'm not. You're breaking up quite a bit there, but if I understand correctly, you're asking about the investment in commercial real estate over residential. Yes?
No, I'm asking specifically about middle-income residential properties. Has there been greater investment in that? I know you mentioned something about $3 million and lower. That seems to be what's taking place now.
For quite a few years, we have had a void and a high demand for middle-income housing, which is not being met. But several, or should I say many developers and individuals have recognize that. I mean, I don't know, partially our lamenting in the years gone by for the need for middle-income housing. And they've answered the call, and many middle-income housing developments have been brought to market. Some are currently still under construction. Some are going to be coming on stream very shortly. So there has been a surge of middle-income housing option being provided to the population, so which is an excellent thing.
Well, Mr. Edghill, just very quickly, because I know we've gone overboard, and thank you very much for your time. But what is the association's position as it relates to the implementation or re-implementation, that is, of property tax?
So property tax, in my opinion, I don't think my colleagues at the association will disagree. Property tax is a necessity. All right, we do have, services that the government provides that are relative to our properties. There are some things that I think need to be looked at with respect to how the property tax is charged. One of the issues that I have is, for example, if you're living in the same neighborhood as someone who chooses not to do upgrades to his property, and as a result is not going to be able to charge a rental on that property that is compared to yours, why are you paying, why are you being forced to pay a higher rate of tax, property tax, because of you spending money on your property that you worked hard for your money and decided to live a more comfortable life. You have to pay more tax because of that after you've built it with your income that has already been taxed, and you're benefiting from the same exact services. So I think that's one of the things. I mean, something else that I would like to see is, for example, pensioners and people who are on fixed incomes to be potentially exempted or have a much lower tax. Because I don't want to see, when property tax comes on stream, that people who have a fixed income who now have a property tax requirement to meet, that they have to sell their property just to be able to live off of their pension, because they can't afford to pay property tax, which is unfair. So there are many things that we need to look at with respect to property tax still. I mean, we are always willing to collaborate and work with the government and any organization who is assisting them in the property tax structures and the rollout of that program. We are always available for them to get our views and see if we can come to a better solution that I think the population will be more receptive to and understand, because, like I said, property tax is a necessity so that we can continue to benefit from the services of the regional corporations, garbage collection, our roads, and different things like that.
Well, Mr. Edghill, thank you very much for giving us your time this morning and your take as to what is happening from the association's point of view, and we appreciate it. And we look forward to further conversations as the sector hopefully continues its recovery and positive projections. But for now, keep well, sir.
No problem. You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.